unfortunately, people think that God is segregated.
Your dreams are still accomplishable.
So I have an authentic love for all genres of music.
Welcome to Higher Impact, where we're inspiring you to dream bigger and reach higher. I'm Teresa Hairston. During the month of March, we celebrate Women's History, a national recognition of the vital roles women have played throughout history. Beginning in 1978 in Santa Rosa, California, the celebration was proclaimed National Women's Week. In March 1980, President Jimmy Carter embraced the celebration. In 1987, Congress officially designated March as Women's History Month. This year's theme is Women Providing Healing and Promoting Hope. There are literally dozens of ways to celebrate and commemorate Women's History Month, but a few that I recommend: teach your kids about female innovators and inventors throughout history. Support women-owned businesses. Use social media to celebrate women who have made and are making history. Honor a woman entrepreneur in your family or circle of friends. Tonight is a special episode of Higher Impact, where we honor women who have provided healing and promoted hope through their examples, their achievements, and their love. We'll be right back.
Have you been dreaming of becoming a published author? Do you have a book inside you? Whether it's a cookbook of family recipes, a makeover guide, or your personal memoir, it's time to make your publishing dreams a reality and go from inspiration to publication. This is your season to move your book from concept to completion. Call now for more information, 770-866-2427, or go online, teresahairston.com.
Of course, there aren't any spots. It's okay, I'll only be a minute.
Paralyzed Veterans of America works tirelessly every day to create a more accessible America. Join PVA and be part of the solution. Honor the spot.
I wish that summer would be how other kids have summer, but I don't think that's gonna happen. We do struggle during the summer, but we have a happy life too. We go to the community center for the food bank. Whatever they give us, that's basically our meal for the day.
Lung cancer research is moving at a rapid pace, and new treatment options are available. Biomarker testing looks for changes in a tumor's DNA, which may influence your treatment options. The American Lung Association has up-to-date resources, so you can be your own advocate. Get started at lung.org.
I'm honored and humbled to salute a few of the great sheroes of our time. My first guest certainly deserves that recognition. Dr. Cynthia James has served over 2,000 congregations nationally and internationally. She's a leader's leader and a preacher's preacher. She has ministered across the globe and served as a pastor, church planter, and overseer throughout the Western United States, Hawaii, and Guam. Dr. James is an educator and has held positions at Rutgers University, the University of Pittsburgh, Cal State, and other colleges. Her accolades go on and on. However, currently she serves as Associate Pastor and Director of Education at the Potter's House in Dallas, Texas, where the pastor is none other than Bishop T.D. Jakes. She also serves as Provost of the Academic Affairs Department at the Jakes Divinity School. Dr. Cynthia James, welcome to Higher Impact.
Thank you so much, Dr. Hairston.
Well, it is my honor, and I'm humbled to have you on here. You are just such an icon, especially to women in ministry. Just so much that you've done. How did you start this whole journey?
Well, it's certainly not to my credit, because I probably came in through a side window or a back door. But after I prepared to be psychology professor in research specifically, I was reminded through a brief spell of illness that my freshman year of college, the end of the first semester, I had made probably what was foolish, but it's characteristic of young people, that kind of exuberant vow that we make to the Lord that says, if you just get me through my exams, and if I do well in college, whatever you say, I'll do. And I meant it sincerely. I remember it was a December 3rd, kneeling beside my dorm bed and praying and pouring out my soul to the Lord. I was super nervous about exams and without justifiable cause. Then I was reminded of that after I had been teaching years later through graduate school at a university. And I had been on long prayer and fasting unwisely, without balance, just lots of prayer and fasting. And during that time that took consequences on my health, I laid in the hospital and I remembered the commitment, and I was doing what I wanted to do, but I had not reconsulted the Lord. And from that, I had a heightened awareness. Then I began to notice, instead of writing my lectures, in those days you wrote out long lectures for 3-hour courses, I was writing about scripture, which I studied a lot, and 30, 40, 50, 60 pages, and I would weep over them, and I kept thinking, I'm losing my mind. And it finally occurred to me, these are messages, these are sermons. And so that was how that happened over a series of years.
At what point did you first start pastoring?
I started pastoring, actually I didn't call it that because I was afraid to call it that. I was teaching at the university part-time and vice president of an employment training program. Years ago it was called CETA, Comprehensive Employment Training. And I would invite co-workers and students who had faith-based questions to my house because I couldn't answer them at the university and not be in trouble. So I would bring them to my house on Friday nights and do Bible study. And after a year of trying to send people to other ministries, it occurred to me that this is not what I thought it was going to be. And I started doing that late 80s, 1981, and then incorporated the ministry in 82.
I know that Dr. Reams and Bishop Reams, she was just an amazing woman, as you are. And so she had a habit, she kind of knew how to find the diamonds in the rough and to develop them. Tell me, what did she pour into you that you remember her most for?
She was committed to faith and particularly fasting, what we call consecration. And while I grew up in a church that admonished even the young people to pray and fast, it was at another level under her ministry. And so I believe it expanded my prayer life, and it was great preparation for subsequently becoming a pastor, because I wasn't, well, yes, I was. I was a young pastor. I hadn't been pastoring long. I had been a church planner. When I started with the board, I was already pastoring. But having been under her ministry, it was routine to have 21-day, 28-day fasts, and to spend time just laying before the Lord, and the fellowship that grew from that. So I would say that would be her greatest contribution to my life. Plus, I tried to emulate it, but I've never actually reached that point. She was tremendously courageous, very bold and confident about who she was.
One of the statements that I've heard you say is that you didn't come to peddle your femininity, but you came to preach the gospel, and I probably am paraphrasing that. But can you unpack that a little bit for us?
I'll try. That's a statement that routinely has gotten me into trouble. The mantra I put on my own ministry in terms of self-description is that I'm a beggar for the body. And that by that I mean about the body of Christ. While I feel very strongly about access and equity and issues of unity in terms of gender for women in ministry, I also think that it's important not to let those issues become competitive with the core message of the gospel. It's a personal temptation to do so at times, particularly if I feel affronted or feel that others are. And so I try very hard to champion all of those things, because justice is at the core of Christianity, but to keep in the forefront that my calling, I don't believe, for me, was based on my gender, that it's not my gender that qualifies me or disqualifies me, but it is hopefully a hearing of the voice of the Lord.
Let me also, before we depart, talk about your current position with Bishop Jakes as provost. That is just such a powerful place because you're pouring into lives and educating. Let's talk about that whole thing and the Jakes Divinity School and your presence there.
Sure. The school is still, even though we're going to the third fall, very much in its formative stages. So I think my title probably fluctuates in terms of what I'm actually doing at the moment. And provost feels a little heavy for a school that's just starting. But primarily, we have a desire to see aspects of who Bishop Jakes is, who's obviously larger than life in so many areas, whether it's humanitarian, philanthropy, entrepreneurial, certainly in the pulpit, and just on, and entertainment, and to see aspects of that made more available to those who are studying. So while we have agreements with degree granting, fully credentialed ATS, that's Association of Theological Schools, so they have the highest level of credentialing, making that available to our students, but at the same time, trying to give them a little bit of the signature and the stamp of what goes on in a ministry that is led and guided by the genius of Bishop T.D. Jakes. And so they have standard courses to take, obviously, but they also have some, I guess it would be considered elective courses, but they're 4 credit courses that pull in more of the voice of our Chancellor, Bishop Jakes, that reflect more of the wedding of theology and a pragmatic approach to the context that many African American pastors find themselves in, that is sensitive, hopefully, as we work toward global issues. The first semester, not this year, but first semester last year, every Monday night in the D-Min lectures, there was a different aspect exposed about I won't say African Christianity, but hearing from Black voices that either talked about the early years of Christianity in Africa or some other aspect of the Black church. And those lectures were as powerful and as instructive, I think, as any of the courses were. So I don't know if that gives a full idea, but there's a D-Min program that comes through our partnership with one university, a number of master's programs, as well as a bachelor's program. And it's also our in-house Potter's House Ministries, the training program there is a feeder for the Jakes Divinity School.
This is such an important time for people in the body of Christ. And I know that you speak as a pastor, as a leader, but if you don't mind, speak to the people, from just the standpoint of a woman who survived COVID and moving on into this next season. What are the things that we need to focus on as Christians?
I think both as Christians and as women leaders, that what we once would have called a crisis has become the normal times. And while there's already a dearth in leadership and a real lack of strong, visible leadership on the landscape, I think women in ministry, along with men, but particularly women, need to be assertive about knowing how to be leaders in times of ambiguity and times of uncertainty, how to have a voice that is decisive, that can be calming when people are needing security, that voice that reflects preparation, which is strategic, and a voice which reflects planning, which is tactical. I think it's extremely important that we discover, and this is not a new thought, what's at the core of who we are, and then really believe that that core was designed for what's going on today. So I think preparation and planning and leadership and boldness and courage and putting out strategies and tactical steps will help others to adjust to what would have been a crisis situation.
Dr. James, thank you. You are profound as usual. God bless you.
But thank you for having me.
On January 20th, 2021, Kamala Harris became the first woman, first Black person, and first person of Asian descent to be elected to the country's second highest office. We salute Vice President Kamala Harris for her many achievements. And as she has often talked about those who came before her, we also commemorate the late, great Shirley Chisholm, the first Black woman elected to Congress and the first woman and African American to seek the nomination for President of the United States from one of the two major political parties. Born in Brooklyn, New York in 1924, Shirley Chisholm was unbought and unbossed. At the age of 44, she won a seat in Congress where she fought for racial and gender equality, the plight of the poor, and ending the Vietnam War. 4 years after becoming a congresswoman, Shirley Chisholm decided to run for the 1972 Democratic Party's presidential nomination. However, she was blocked from participating in televised primary debates, and after taking legal action, was permitted to make just one speech. Still, despite all that was against her, when the delegate votes were cast, Chisholm garnered 10% of the vote. Of her legacy, Chisholm said, "I want to be remembered as a woman who dared to be a catalyst of change." In 2020, the success of hair care entrepreneur Madam C.J. Walker, who started with $2 and a dream and became the first African-American female millionaire, has been celebrated through the movie Self-Made.
It's time to tell my story. Seems like I was born to struggle. After a while, I guess I just lost hope. That's when my hair started falling out.
I'm going to help you.
My hair grew back, and so did my confidence.
Two women who have made it to billionaire status are Oprah and Rihanna. According to Forbes magazine, as of 2022, Oprah is worth $2.6 billion. Her media empire and portfolio includes the OWN Network, O Magazine, and Weight Watchers, plus a megabuck deal with Apple TV. However, it's worth noting that Oprah worked hard and was a shrewd manager of her own career and business growth. She invested in her own dream, hired and managed a hand-picked team of professionals, and produced her own shows. Beyond her business success, Oprah is a woman of great wisdom, power, and spiritual inspiration. People call it the Oprah effect. Perhaps her greatest attribute is her determination to inspire and uplift others. Rihanna, whose full name is Robin Rihanna Fenty, first came to the United States from her hometown of Bridgetown, Barbados in 2005 to record a demo, and the rest is history, or more appropriately, her story. Rihanna has sold over 250 million records worldwide, become a successful actress, and in 2017 launched Fenty Beauty because she aspired to create a cosmetics company that made women everywhere feel included. Fenty, which Forbes confirms Rihanna has 50% ownership of, is one of the most successful brands in the $49 billion cosmetics industry. Rihanna is also the first Black woman to head a luxury brand for Louis Vuitton. Beyond the music, Rihanna is extremely philanthropic and known for her involvement in humanitarian causes and especially entrepreneurial ventures. As we celebrate Women's History Month 2022, let's acknowledge that for the past 2 years, COVID-19 has wreaked havoc on many institutions, especially the institution of marriage. Many marriages have crumbled or faced severe challenges because couples simply have never spent so much time together. But on the flip side, some marriages have found a deeper love than they've ever experienced. But when it comes to marriage, a wise woman always builds her house. Tonight, we celebrate Lady Serita Jakes, a wife and mother and a wise woman who has been by the side of America's pastor, Bishop T.D. Jakes, for just about 42 years. The Jakeses are honest about the fact that life has thrown them some curveballs, but they've turned those curveballs into classrooms.
Larry, we went on vacation to Paris. All the way over to Paris. I had a plan. We in Paris. We in Paris. Glory, ain't no bishops in Paris. We gonna get down in Paris. I said, we gonna get down. I had oiled my knees and everything. We gonna done my stretches and everything, got my back together. We good. Done my workout in the gym. I got her over in Paris. She in the bed. She in the bed, and I am thinking about killing her. I am sitting in that chair in the bedroom looking at her asleep in the bed thinking, now, if I take that drapery rod and wrap it around her neck, because for her, vacation was sleep, no makeup, no getting up with the kids, no answering the phone, running around doing whatever I do. I think we could have saved the flight and the hotel. You could have done that at the house. That's what Daddy was saying down inside of me. We flew all the way over to Paris to act like we in our bedroom. This makes no sense. This is Paris. We need to be eating the food and going to the restaurants and going to the museum and go shopping and go here and go there. And she said,
Obviously, there isn't time to celebrate all the great women in the world, or even those in my life. But I must take some time to offer a tribute to a few dynamic women who have rocked the world, particularly in the realm of faith. Jarena Lee, born February 11, 1783, and lived until February 3, 1864, was the first black woman to become an authorized preacher in the African Methodist Episcopal Church. In 1807, Lee heard the voice of God commissioning her to preach the gospel. Initially, she was denied by church leadership, but after they heard her, she was given official authorization to preach in 1819. Today, the organization Women Preach Incorporated has launched the Jarena Lee Preaching Academy, which equips women of the African diaspora to speak in their own prophetic voices. The Honorable Suzan Johnson Cook was the first female and African American to hold the position of U.S. Ambassador for International Religious Freedom, and also the first female president of the historic Hampton University Ministers Conference in its 102-year history. Currently, she leads the Global Black Women's Chamber of Commerce. And last but certainly not least, we salute Dr. Beverly Jackson, the First Lady of Great Faith Ministries International and the First Lady of the Impact TV Network. Happy birthday, Dr. B, and thank you for being a strong, courageous example of dynamic womanhood. As we close this special show, I want to hear from you. Let me know if you've enjoyed this show and what you want to see more of. Hit me up on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, or LinkedIn at Dr. T. Hairston, and sign up for my free updates on my YouTube or my website at teresahairston.com. And now enjoy this special treat from the 50th anniversary of the Dove Awards, featuring gospel music legends of yesterday, today, and tomorrow. Dr. Bobby, take us home.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Oh, you're going to love this. You're about to travel back into time and recall some of the landmark songs in gospel music. I love these old songs, and these songs practically wore out the grooves on my record player. Yes, records, I said. These are legendary ladies presenting 3 songs. Guaranteed you quite a capsule of meeting the challenge that gives warm Dove welcomes. And we're going to ask all of you to welcome to the stage the fantastic Mr. Kalen Carr, Dorinda Clark Cole, Pastor Shirley Caesar. Welcome them now.
Jump to your feet, let's go back, clap your hands. ain't no smiling faces. Now, hey. Come on, y'all, help me, y'all. I'll take you there. Help me, Lord. I'll take you there. Yeah, I will. I'll take you there. Anybody wanna go with me? I'll take you there. I'll take you there. I'll take you there. Oh, happy day. Yeah, when Jesus, did he do that for you? When Jesus